trial as a result of it, right? Because she said
that's Banner saying she was hung over the balconies.
Banner was saying she got hung over the balcony in Los Angeles, and that Cassie was there, and Cassie was in New York with Puff at the Bad Boy reunion concert, right? And then in Cassie's civil suit, that same story is in there on page 19, paragraph 102. It also talked about the Kid Cudi car explosion in her civil suit.
Hey, by the way, for everyone who's in the chat, I see some of y'all trolling. There's no official verdict. TMZ has not reported either. They reported that there is a verdict that's been reached on 4 of the counts. No verdict yet on the RICO count. We're waiting. Lauren was just here. Actually, they came from court here assuming that the verdict, if any time, was going to come down tomorrow because it was looking a little bleak.
Yeah, I don't need to be back there to hear the verdict. I just need, I just need
Puff to walk out that room.
I just need. See, there's something in the United States of America that's called due process of law and a right to a fair trial, right? And that my constitutional rights cannot be violated, no matter how vile you think I am, no matter how much you hate me, no matter how much you may think I might have jerked artists or I might have hung shine out the dry, or whatever speculation you may have about Kim Porter, whatever, you just may not like me. But that doesn't mean that I don't deserve a right to a fair trial. I'm an American citizen, I'm a taxpayer, and I deserve the due process of law. And academics, man, what I saw for 7 weeks, man, is that I saw a lot of motherfuckers come in there and get up on the stand and lie and be coached by the assistant U.S. attorneys, meeting with them 31 times, 24 times, 13 times, subpoenaed, witnesses getting on the stand, academics saying, under cross, do you want to be here? No. Were you subpoenaed to come here? Yes. How do you feel about Puff? I feel great about Puff. Do you want to testify against Puff? No. And then other ones.
Jane supposedly said that too, right?
I don't know what she said.
So, supposedly, at least Lauren said that they were saying, hey, and now you're here testifying against Puff. And she says, wait, against? Like she was almost shocked that, her testimony is supposed to be used against him.
The only ones that didn't say that they didn't want to be there were the ones, Dawn Richard, who's got a $6.45 million lawsuit, civil suit pending against them. Mia has a $10 million suit pending against them. Brianna Boglin has a $10 million lawsuit pending against them. Brianna Boglin texted her that morning, along with Deontay Nash. They both texted her that morning.
Go get your bag, girl.
Go, yeah, exactly.
It's paraphrasing.
Ain't no question. And when you hear that, you know what I'm saying?
It's like a lineup.
I got my 20 million. You go get you 10 now. And I'm going to help you. I'm going to put in my civil suit.
Basically, it's like a lie. Like, hey, I'm going to say this part, and you say that part, then we connected up. I vouch for you, you vouch for me. We all get this bread.
And if this nigga gets convicted, we all get paid. And if he gets convicted, Jane Doe's lawsuit will be promptly following.
She claimed that she has no intention of following.
Well, that's what Mouse said. That's what Jason Driscoll said, Puffy's attorney. They were arguing about, that witnesses have a higher tendency to fabricate and lie about stories when they have a financial motive and a financial incentive for a conviction.
Yeah, I definitely think she's about to file a lawsuit.
If he's convicted. If he's found innocent,
I think she's still like
none of their lawsuits. I mean, they probably could file them, but they probably won't come to nothing.
Yeah, I think she'll file just because even you got to remember in civil court the burden of proof is way lower. It's the preponderance of the evidence.
Right.
If it leans one way, you vote that way. So it's like you basically need 51% as opposed to you need 100% when it comes to this. So yeah, this is trying times. I wonder what the family's thinking. I'm pretty sure all the family are in court right now.
Yeah, a lot of them is there. I saw his sister there today. I saw her in the cafeteria. I didn't see the boys. I really didn't go hang around the courtroom too much. People were just sitting in the overflow, just watching the screen. There really wasn't much going on. Just waiting for water to boil.
By the way, in the well of the courtroom, everybody but Donaldson is in their seat. They're waiting. Sean Combs is leaning back. His legs are crossed. He does not look happy. Does not look happy. That's what Matthew Russell from Inner City Press is saying. He's also saying that. So he's explained what Allen charges. Lauren also did that too. It says it's an instruction that a judge gives to a jury when they say they can't reach a verdict on one or more counts of an indictment. It says to go back and keep trying because no future jury would be positioned any better to make a decision. Okay? So the Allen charges would be the instruction to say, you guys got to figure this out one way or the other, which means that would be the opposite of accepting a hung jury saying that you can't make an agreement because they've made an agreement on 4 of the charges.
Puff don't look happy, huh?
Well, and I can imagine his lawyers are telling him what this probably means. Hey, and Puff seems like he's a straight shooter. He's not the guy who you tell him lies to make him feel good. So yeah. I'm pretty sure they told him, hey, listen, it's not a good thing that they came back this quick. Given the fact that they just asked for Cassie's thing. But it might be a good thing too. It might be good. Like, I think it's not a bad thing. If you're asking me, I think it's a better thing that they didn't take too long on Cassie. Because I think the thing with Cassie is that there's so much nuance and so much dirt there. And if you really start going over 11 years of a relationship of her pain, and then you're going to have somebody, maybe the social worker who's on the stand and say, well, everyone's going to give their experiences. They're going to relate that situation to maybe them, maybe a relative. That's how it's going to happen in the deliberation room, right? I thought to really parse through everything she was saying, because she's mentioned cheating. She's mentioned multiple freak-offs. She's mentioned Kid Cudi. She's mentioned beatings here, beatings there. To go through all of that, I think it's impossible that they're like, no, he's already guilty. I mean, from what I saw a lot of reason without him. And also I saw what you could interpret as this is a toxic relationship. So you got to really parse through a lot of information for them to come back this quick, say we already got a verdict on it.
So they say they got a verdict on 2, 3, and 4?
2, 3, 4, and 5. So 2, 3, 4, and 5. And it's really they only need it on 2 and 4 because if you believe 2 is yes, well, 3 is
2 is it? 2 is the SCX trafficking?
Yes. If you believe that is true, then yes, it's yes prostitution. But that's why I'm confused. If you could agree on 2 and 4,
then you should be able to agree on 1.
Unless you don't believe there's an enterprise. You don't believe it. No, there's no RICO here. There's not an enterprise. We don't believe it's an enterprise. We don't believe that there was an agreement between the co-conspirators. Yes, AK was the chief of staff, but she's like the assistant. She wasn't helping to do crimes. D-Rock was the bodyguard, but he wasn't helping to do crimes. So a RICO requires 2 or more people to be in a agreement, in a conspiracy to commit crimes and have an enterprise or an organization that the crime is being committed through. Also, there's a stipulation of time in a sense of a statute of limitations. One of the acts of the RICO, one of the predicate offenses, must have been committed in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And also between acts in the pattern, it can't be more than 10 years. So remember, he stops dealing with Cassie in 2019 or 18. It's 2024. That's 6 years. If you don't believe that he sex trafficked Jane Doe, if you don't believe that he's, any of these acts continue past, then you might say, well, the RICO, the statute of limitations, it could be a statute of limitations issue. It could be an enterprise issue. It could be a co-conspirator issue. Where's the 2 people, right? I don't think it's a predicate offenses issue. Can't be. Because the predicate offenses, if you agree on 2, 3, 4, and 5, 2, 3, 4, and 5 basically all roll up into the RICO. Because that's how they charge.
Right.
They charge him with the RICO, then they separate it for their strongest charges. They separate it because they know if we can't get him on RICO, we can get him on Cassie. If we can't get him on sex trafficking Cassie, we can get him on prostitution of Cassie. All right, then we got another victim, right? If we can't get him, see, there were other sex trafficking victims that were claiming that. They were trying to say Gina, but she was weak. That's why she never got a standalone charge. They wrapped her up into the forced labor and sex trafficking charge in the RICO, but she didn't show up. They knew she was gonna pull a fast one on.
Victim 5 didn't show up either.
Yeah. So it's getting down to the wire. Getting down to the wire. I hope Lauren has made it.
I don't know what. I would just hate for.
Okay, here we go. The judge says, I've received each side's proposal. Mr. Agnifilo, your proposal, there is not much there. Agnifilo says, we're not remotely at a place where the jury needs to deliberate. We're not remotely at a place where the jury needs to deliberate efficiently. They are remarkably efficient. They already have 4 verdicts. So I guess he's saying, let them go back up in there, right? The judge says I wouldn't call the government proposal an Allen charge because an Allen charge.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you for watching. I know it's been a while now. I know I'm posting MSNBC, but you're hearing DJ Academy talk about the Diddy case. I just cannot play the video, but I can play the audio. But the verdict is about to come. They already reached 4 out of 5 verdict. So now they just need to reach the 5th one, the first one. So they'll reach verdict on 2, 3, and 4, and 5, just not the first one. We'll continue watching what happened, but so far, Diddy's life is heading by a threat. We don't know what's gonna happen. I guess we're gonna find out together now. After, I guess, 7 weeks, that's what it comes down to.
When a personal injury accident happens, it can feel like your whole life is falling apart. Here's what you need to know. At Snedeker Law, the personal starts here. And we...
Yeah, me that. Diddy right now is probably, he's sweating bullets, man.
100%, man. He's been that, man. You know what I think, man? And this is just pure speculation on my part. I think it's tough for Puff to sit there and know what he did for these people. You know, not saying he's the best individual in the world, and then to be faced with this situation, man, where his freedom and his family is at stake, man. Knowing that the story that these people told is not true, and then they got on the stand and lied and perjured themselves in court, and that still didn't matter. And it's crazy, man. And Agnifilo, when he started his closing argument, he says, this man, Sean Combs, has been charged with the...
Let's show guys what the verdict has reached on.
Most serious crime on the books and the most confusing crime on the books. And that's racketeering conspiracy. And I'm like, I don't see how they can come back and have 2, 3, and 4 and not 1.
I'm wondering.
I don't know, man.
I'm wondering what the strategy here is. If Agnifilo is trying to say, send them back in there, and if they did, I don't even know if this is a thing. Maybe if they continue to deliberate, maybe a little bit more clarity could come, and maybe all of this could fall our way. I don't know what they're thinking the verdict seemingly is already, but there's an update. Agnifilo says, we're not at that point yet. I'm not saying we would be at that point on Thursday, which is July 3rd, or Monday. let's wait and see. I'm putting stock in that they've reached verdicts on 4 counts. The judge says I'm going with that. But I may.
So he knows whether it's guilty or not guilty on 4 counts.
It would have. Well, he wouldn't know for sure.
Or he just knows they've reached the verdict.
They've reached a verdict,
but he don't know whether it's guilty or not guilty.
But he's a lawyer. They probably have convened. They know way more than me and you. They have probably looked at this 50,000 ways in the probabilities to say, if we're going to get a hung jury, we're going to get it here. If we're going to get a indecision, because you got to remember, even when we think about, say, like Harvey Weinstein, there was one of his, charges that they couldn't decide on. So they had to explore the possibilities of they're not going to agree. It might be unlikely that they agree on everything. What are the steps if they don't agree on everything? And what are the things they might not agree on that we should prepare for? This is a really efficient legal team. They plan for everything. The next thing the judge says, I could tell them that they could return on July 3rd. I think we could arrange that. What do the parties think? Comey says, we'd like to give them the option to deliberate on the 3rd. Agnifilo says, 1 second, Your Honor. The judge says, yes. Agnifilo says, our preference is that you don't tell them now about Thursday. The downside is the jurors might feel rushed to reach a verdict to avoid the Thursday issue. Let them deliberate tomorrow, and you could ask at the end of tomorrow. So it looks like, another one. The judge says, so the defense would have no objection to them deliberating on the 3rd. Now, if you guys don't know, it was supposedly understood that the 3rd would be most likely an off day, even though it's not a federal holiday, but it's the day before. The 3rd is Thursday. So remember when I gave you guys the timeline, it was supposed to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If we don't get a verdict by then, you're sitting a holiday weekend, and then you're coming back Monday and hopefully... Right,
but the judge did say that even though the court was closed on Thursday, that he would open it up and allow them to come in and continue to deliberate on Thursday, even though there would be nobody else in the building.
Yeah. So
I want to know, do they know whether it's guilty or not guilty? And then from what you were saying about Puff's body language, I wonder if they know.
Well, let's play this out. Right? If you believe that
pure speculation.
Yeah, pure speculation.
Pure speculation.
Well, let's play this out. If we believe that Diddy has 4 not guilty verdicts, right? That's already in for 2, 3, 4, and 5. If I'm Agnifilo, I want him to come back with the RICO now. I don't want to give more time. I would, if I'm already thinking that the majority of the verdict is saying not guilty,
make them come on back.
Let them come on back and say,
because they're already not guilty.
Because they're seeing the bullshit in the case. They're seeing that there's no sex trafficking here. There's no prostitution here.
It's hard for me to look at this shit, man, because I don't see none of them charges, man. And I was there every day. And I must be, Sean G must be, either I'm just so blind and biased.
Let me ask you a question.
Or I don't, but I didn't see none of this, man.
I watched you, we watched you at length. And as you talked about this is why people love hearing your perspective. You talk passionately, but you also talked about your experience with the legal system.
Mm-hmm.
Does some of what you see happening with Diddy and happening in the courtroom, does that kind of remind you of just maybe persecution in general? Because you went through the system, right?
Right. My case, I didn't. I didn't go to trial. I pled out. An undercover agent, black girl, undercover agent came in my office. She wore a camera and she wore a microphone and she filmed me and she befriended me She told me she went to a historically black college like I did, and I proceeded to get her more money on her tax return than what I was supposed to. So I was dead busted. I knew I was wrong. I was doing wrong. You know, there was no trial. And once they showed me the video, when me and my attorney went and saw the video, I knew I was busted. I was going to plea out. But when I got to the Joint Act and I started to hear stories of black men on their first nonviolent drug offense getting 240 months.
Jesus.
Right? Another guy, honorable discharge from the Air Force, got involved in the drug game, nonviolent drug offense, first offense, 360 months, right? That's 30 years. 240 months is 20 years. And this story was repetitive. Everyone had a story like that. And 10 years was like, you know, the Happy Meal. Everybody had 10. And, you know, I used to think like, and they used to tell me these stories about how they were fucked around when they went to trial or with the prosecutors and things. And, you know, you don't really believe people. But I was in the courtroom for Puff's trial, man. And this was a butcher job on behalf of the Southern District of New York. And you had a judge who was grossly inexperienced and ill-equipped to handle a case of this magnitude. And for me, when Cassie said that she loved her and Puffy's past, that was it for me. And then once Breonna Boglin got on the stand and perjured herself, it was a wrap for me. There was nothing nobody could say to change my mind. That alone was enough to cut Puff free, right? Because let's take, for instance, the Luigi Mangione joint, right? He runs up behind the dude, shoots him in the back of the head. The dude's he shoots him, right? And we have that on video. That's conclusive. Nigga, you out of here. There's no argument you can make. The same way they had for me. I was on film. Wire. There's no argument I can make. This whole case, academics,
hurt feelings,
is other people with a financial incentive, not $200,000, not $300,000, which would be crazy too, but $10 million. Getting on the stand and their whole story getting demolished and crushed under cross-examination and lies and perjury being exposed, and this evidence being allowed to be entered.
Yeah.
And this man is facing 30 years in prison as a result of that. And like you said out from the jump start, the enterprise. What's the enterprise? Bad Boy is a legitimate record company. John is a legitimate clothing company. Ciroc is a legitimate liquor company. Revolt TV, these are legitimate businesses that this shit is just crazy to me, man. And, you know,
I think they looked at everything. And in trying to, I think if they were going to bring the RICO, and trust me, I know they had to try. When they usually bring in a company like that legitimately has a official and a legitimate business purpose, they usually look for other illicit things that maybe they're doing knowingly or whatever. Maybe a tax crime, wire fraud, maybe something with money laundering. None of that really. The most they can say is, I think there was a flight book and it came from this account. And, you know, it becomes a little bit weak when it comes to that. By the way, the judge has instructed the jury. The judge brought the jury back and said, welcome back. I received your note that you received.
Oh, they back in the court?
You reached a verdict on count 2 to 5.
Wow.
I ask that you continue deliberating, discuss, and weigh your respective opinions dispassionately and follow my instructions on the law. I ask you to return to the jury room. If you decide you're done for the day, send me another note, and I'll bring you out at the end of the day. The jurors are leaving, so I'm guessing they're going to have a quick talk to say, you think we can figure it out today, or let's come back tomorrow? You got to realize it's 5:21 p.m. right now on the East Coast. I could imagine they think that they're closer, or who knows, maybe they'll be like, hey, all right, we'll stick around till 7, but we're going to get a verdict today. But the question I wanted to ask, which I don't know if you could answer, but I'm wondering, are these decisions for 2 to 5, are those locked in? Because sometimes when you're arguing about one thing, it might then change how you think about another thing. And you might be like, now I want to change my answer on that. I'm not that unanimous on that now. And I'm wondering if they could reverse that, or this is a new information.
Hey guys, sorry guys, we're still waiting on a verdict for Diddy case. I know I'm letting you hanging. Before that, while we're waiting, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and play some news for you on what happened in the news today. So please bear with me while I will get back on that. Okay? Let me play some news for you while we're waiting on a verdict in a Diddy case.
Three shocking reasons why butter belongs on your ice cream.
The reason butter is called butter is because of the butyric acid. The best part of butyrate is most people don't know that the lining of your colon, the cells that line your colon, 80% of their nourishment comes from butyrate. Most of us don't.
This is an important moment, a really important moment for President Trump's legislative agenda. So much of what he does with the stroke of a pen and hopes that it gets through the courts. This is different. This is really it when it comes to what he wants Congress to do. Actually, just hang on one second. Let's listen into the Senate. Lauren, I'm going to go back to you. We see on the screen there, 50-50. This is what you suspected. Looking at this, at the chair there, yeah, it looks like it is the vice president. So we do expect a tie-breaking vote momentarily.
Yeah, our team who is in the chamber, Dana, they are giving us some live updates. And I just want to preface this with the fact that until it's gavelled, nothing is final. You can hear the vice president here. What we are learning from inside the chamber is that Senator Rand Paul has voted no. We know that Senator
Lauren,
Susan
hang on.
Collins.
Let's listen to the vice president.
will suspend for a prayer by the Senate chaplain.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, Lauren.
That's okay.
The prayer is important. It is part of the daily business of the Senate. But as we monitor that, please continue what you were telling us about the news.
Yeah, we know now that Senator Rand Paul voted no on this piece of legislation. Senator Tom Tillis voted no on this piece of legislation. Senator Susan Collins voted no on this piece of legislation. But our colleague Sarah Ferris, who is in the chamber, said that Senator Lisa Murkowski gave a quiet but affirmative vote for this legislation. Obviously, that is a significant development given the lengths that leadership went to try to win over her support. She had several concerns in this bill, from Medicaid to food stamps cuts in her state, and she was really successful in winning some major things for the state of Alaska, including the fact that a key provision that would have shifted some of the burden of covering the cost of the supplemental nutrition assistance program known as food stamps back in her state, she was carved out. Alaska was carved out, as was Hawaii. That just shows you how far leadership was working to try to win up and shore up her vote.
And when you say carved out, just to be clear, it means that the cuts that are coming to most states will not come to the state of Alaska and Hawaii as well.
Exactly. Non-contiguous states in the United States will not be subject to that change. We'll see how that goes over among House conservatives once this gets back over to their chamber, of course.
Okay, and Lauren, I just want to show our viewers as we wait to see the final gavel. As you said, we don't know for sure what happens until the final gavel, although this time I think we have a pretty good sense. I just want to show our viewers the big picture of what we're talking about here, the substance of this, because the horse trading and the politics are fascinating, but the substance is really ultimately what matters. We're talking about extending the 2017 tax cuts, overhaul eligibility for Medicaid and food stamps, no taxes on tips or overtime. That was a big campaign promise that President Trump was out there talking about, and then even Kamala Harris did as well. Phasing out green energy tax credits, money for the Pentagon, border security, detentions, and deportations, a lot of money there. And it also lifts the debt ceiling. Can we just talk a little bit about, as we look at all of the components to this, the no's weren't that many no's, considering the concerns that we heard from a lot of Republican senators about a lot of what's in this when it comes to the Medicaid reform or cuts, when it comes to the fact that the CBO says it adds like $3 trillion to the deficit. But at the end of the day, unless somebody changes their vote before it's finally gavelled, it was just, as you said, Rand Paul and Tom Tillis, who went out with a blaze of glory. He was so upset about this. He said, I'm not going to run for re-election.
Yeah, and Dana, I just want to interrupt to say they have gavelled this vote now. It happened very quickly, but I want to just point out, as you were saying, you have these 3 Republicans who voted against this bill, and one of them voting against it for very different reasons, right, than the other 2. Senator Tom Tillis, Senator Susan Collins, they had concerns about those Medicaid cuts. And we should note that in the very end of this bill, the negotiations led to a place where Susan Collins nearly doubled that rural hospital fund that she had been fighting for. Still, it was not enough to win her vote. Meanwhile, Senator Rand Paul voted against this bill because there was too much spending, he argued, and the fact that it increased the country's borrowing limit. That was something he did not want to include in this legislation. And he was very clear with leadership from the jump that that was going to be a red line for him. Obviously, they decided that they didn't need his vote, that they could get votes elsewhere. But that is why those 3 members voted against this legislation. We do expect that Senator Susan Collins will issue a more formal statement explaining her vote anytime. We should also note she is now, of those 3, the only Republican that we know of who is seeking re-election in the state of Maine. That obviously could have been Tom Tillis as well, but he announced on Sunday that he was not going to seek re-election after he faced massive backlash from the president when he voted against advancing this piece of legislation.
Really, really interesting. Lauren, thank you so much for being there. Thank you for making clear that this has officially passed. We did miss that quiet gavel by the vice president, who is the president of the Senate, who made sure that it passed by 1 vote, thanks to his tie-breaking vote. Let us know if you see and hear anything that is noteworthy as we learn what else happened on the floor. And my panel is back. Jeff Zeleny, I interrupted you as we got the news. The big picture here about the Trump agenda.
Look, it's an extraordinary piece of legislation, some 980 pages in the Senate. We should point out this is not done yet. However, it is getting to that point. There's momentum behind this bill now. President Trump obviously wants it. So House conservatives now have a decision to make. Are they going to be the fiscal hawks that they've long talked about, or are they going to swallow hard and vote for this bill? My guess is that by the end of the week, there is a bill. Is it going to be a straight line to that point? No, it is not.
Damn, I'm not getting on them, but I'm sweating out. He's sweating out the RICO. Yeah. But then, let me ask you, could he be convicted of the RICO if he's not guilty on 2, 3, 4, and 5? Unless it's drug distribution and bribery. Yeah, maybe, right?
Yeah, but that's why I said the judge made it a way where he could still get a RICO charge without a sex charge. But my confusion is, if you're claiming, I get it's a criminal organization, but
not could do. That was where I
all day and all night. Yeah, he was depressed, and
That's 15 years, 15 and a half, 15 years, 6 months.
as he went to trial, he's not.
When am I going to get probation? Who's going to take care of my son? You know, that was the most, this one stabbed me in the back. This one is agreed to cooperate with me. I love this person. I ain't heard nobody calling. That is the hard part, kid. Once you get to prison and you get dressed out, you get your uniform, you get your mat, you get your bunk, you settle in and you say, okay, I'm here. Let me start doing my time. Ain't nothing I could do. That was where I began my comeback. But, fighting my case is treachery, man, on the soul, man.
Yeah, again, I keep.
Okay, guys, it looked like Tank is not done. Is done for today. We thought we were gonna have a verdict because they could not settle in a count. We call one, a count one. The jury will come back tomorrow resuming. I guess they said that's a good thing, but I don't know. I think they maybe the one guy that holding out for the WICO for Diddy is still not ready, and they're hoping. I don't know, because they don't want to do what you call it, a mistrial. The judge doesn't want to reach a retrial, and unless the guy like finally tired and give up and say, okay, plead guilty. It look like, man, we have to come back tomorrow. It's unfortunate, but that's what looked like. That's what happened in the case today. We thought it was gonna be a race. Now they gotta come back tomorrow and see what's gonna happen. But the thing is, if they don't raise something tomorrow, they're gonna have to come back on Thursday, guy. And I'm sure they probably will hear about it when they get home. But I heard that they wanted to tell the jury whether or not they will be able to come back on Thursday. Now, if they don't raise something tomorrow, they will have to come back on Thursday. So we don't know what's gonna happen. So far, that's what we have for you today, guys. There was no verdict reached on the Diddy case. I guess we're gonna have to part way for now. This is Bourgeois Daily. Let me know what you think about this. Until next time, guys. Deuces. We'll come back tomorrow. If they do it before I go to work or after work, we'll do it, or I have to do it live when I get home to tomorrow. All right, guys. Thank you for that 4 people that watching live. Love you guys so much. Appreciate you guys so much. Appreciate the support for that person. Thank you so much. Give me a like before you leave. Until next time. Thank you, guys.